Let the games begin. Here's my ranking of the 4 original Hunger Games, not including the one that came out. If you're feeling that you're gonna get spoiled, I'm not gonna spoil you. So from worst to best, let's go. In 4th place, we're gonna have the Mockingjay Part 2. This is the last movie of the original Hunger Games. The film was a good closing to the end of the other movies. The reason why it's 4th place is not because it was a bad movie. It was a great movie, but it just doesn't live up to the standards and have the stakes as high as the other movies did. Everything was complete, everything was pretty much put into place. Katniss, of course, was going to defeat the baddie in the end. We learned that the President Snow was actually sick this whole time, and that he wears a rose on his chest, just so that when he's talking to other people, they're not smelling the blood from his breath. You had the woman in grey try to take over the whole show, and then she got eliminated. We saw the woman that Katniss became in the end. You admired the journey, but that was the destination. The journey is always the best. The destination is the end, the journey is the best. In 3rd place, we're gonna have the original first movie for the Hunger Games. This one, we were introduced to Katniss Everdeen. We got the first impressions of the character that Katniss had. A lot of people hate their siblings, and if their 12-year-old brother or sister got voted to go in the Hunger Games, they would probably laugh and say, I'm glad that wasn't me. We saw Katniss's character, but we also got a glimpse of how her character was built. How her dad got killed in a mine, and the mom had to break down, so she had to step up and she had to be a mother of her sibling and a mother of her mother through circumstances that weren't of her control. She couldn't complain, she couldn't say, Mom, but we need you. She just had to step up and she was put in that position. When that moment happened again, her instinct took over. She just said, I volunteer as tribute. This also gave us a taste of her rebellion desire, that she's not afraid to go against the rules, and we learned that very quickly. In the first movie, we're also introduced to Peter and his character. When there was nothing, he burnt bread so that his bread would be rejected by his mom, got slapped by his mom so that he could feed the starving Katniss outside of his house. Not because he liked her, not because he wanted anything for her, because he's just a giver. Then we'll also learn how Peter's not really a fighter. Peter's more of an artist, more creative. Katniss, she's got that hunting, rough, she can take people on in a fight. We learn that Peter is better at talking, while Katniss, she's quite reserved and she's more of, let the actions do my work. We see, to get everyone's attention, Peter's on the stage talking about he has a crush on Katniss when he doesn't, but he obviously wants to portray that image. Then you see Katniss, to get her attention, she has to go in a flaming dress, or she has to have a bow and arrow and stick it on an apple. And of course, the ending we cannot forget, where they were able to have an act of defiance against the regime that's been put in place. They're willing to both eliminate each other by eating the poison fruit just so that this guy, President Snow, doesn't win. And President Snow wasn't happy about that. In 2nd place, we have Mockingjay Part 1. Katniss is on the run. Peter is nowhere to be found. Then when Peter is found, he's the right-hand man of President Snow. This was confusing to many, to know what had happened to Peter. Peter saying stuff in front of camera that you know that isn't him. He's talking in a way that you know, he's even dressing in a way that you know that isn't Peter. And Katniss is in hiding. She's been hidden well by a couple of insiders that work with President Snow, and they were able to escape because they're thinking of starting a rebellion against the Capitol. Katniss learnt the influence that she actually has. Not that she'd not learnt it in the movies before, but in this one, she learnt about how many people are with her to make her the focal point of a rebellion against the Capitol. This all started because she done this and she said, I volunteer as tribute. That's the only reason. Watching this movie with my family eating our popcorn. There's nothing more inspirational than seeing that. Of course, Snow knew that they're up to shenanigans. So when they actually did retrieve Peter, Peter was crazy. And yeah, this movie had high stakes. There were moments where you're panicking, thinking, Peter, are you okay? Thinking, Katniss, are you okay? Seeing Peter like this. Number 1, we're gonna have to go with the second Hunger Games, Catching Fire. The shivers down your spine when you hear, President Snow stand up on stage and say, every person that's been in the Hunger Games before and that's still alive, you guys are gonna compete for the 75th anniversary of the Hunger Games. There's not a person in the audience that didn't get shivers at that scene, thinking, what now? Katniss had to overcome all that, winning the games with Peter, now living a fairly comfortable life, to now being told you're going back in the games after all that. Number one, Hunger Games Catching Fire was the best out of the 4 films. High stakes, high risk, and it ended with Katniss having to go with her instinct, point up at the sky, and destroy the Hunger Games. This is where we saw the Hunger Games officially destroyed. The first time Snow had probably panicked in his life. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with my choices? Are you still watching the video? Because I want to hit 30,000 followers by the end of the year. Subscribe if you're new. Comment if you want more of these type of videos. And I'll see you in the next one.